Hey guys, my name is James, and I just want to welcome you to Life Group. If this is your first time here, a leader will be stopping by to welcome you and get you plugged into a circle. Now we're going to head into what God has for us, so make sure you guys grab out your Bible and your journal and start taking notes because God has this amazing message for us. Let's listen.
Communication equals connections. I would say with a lot of certainty that most of the problems you've ever had in a relationship, friendship, maybe family, dating relationship, you can trace it back to communication or probably miscommunication, bad communication. You just can't get on the same page. You end up arguing, you end up fighting. The distance grows. But when you know how to communicate, you connect. Right now, there's a distance between you and some people that are really close to you, but when you learn how to clearly communicate, you can have connection. Right now, there's someone you really like, and they just seem very far away, and because they don't even know you exist. But the more you learn how to communicate to that person in the right way, God will connect you. It's a principle of life, and it will serve you in your entire life. That the clearer the communication, the closer the connection. That if there's one thing you walk out of here with, is this idea that the more you're able to have clear communication with the people in your life, whether it's now and later, you are going to have a closer connection to them. And that it's God's will that you be unified with people, that you connect with people. So we're going to show the difference between clear communication and poor communication. Because the clearer your communication is, the closer the connection is going to be with the person. So this is what clear communication does. There's 4 points of these. Clear communication deals with people directly. Poor communication talks to everyone else and only uses text or social media, or they stuff it down and never deals with it. Clear communication deals with people directly. Poor communication talks to everyone else about it. Oh, there's this problem going on. So instead of going to the person we have a problem with, we talk to 7 people in our graduating class. And instead of finding solution, we now cause more problems. Because half of those people hate that person more, and the other half, we're actually pretty loyal to that person, and now we're mad at you. And now there's more division. Because when there's poor communication, your connection with people is going to get all mangled up. Some of us have things to deal with people, and we try to sort it out over text message, over direct message on Instagram, over this sort of thing, when you cannot see tone or face expression when you're over a phone. You think it's God's best for you that your best friends are now your enemies? Now, I get it in life. Friends come and go. They do. But do you really think that that's God's best plan for you? And there's this third group of people. I'm not even going to talk about people that post like ambiguous tweets or statuses. Like, bro, let's walk down to Flynn Middle School, sit down in a 6th grade classroom, and let's learn again how to become emerging adults. Like, if you have something to say to somebody, you can and you should say it to them. And the last group of people in this sector is that you stuff it down and you never deal with it. No matter what you've been through, no matter how angry you are, you can deal with what you're facing. It's never going to win for you to keep it on the inside. What it's telling us, it's 4 steps right here, is that number 1, you go to them directly. Clear communication, the clearer you communicate, the closer the connection. When you go directly to them, go to them. Number 2, it says, bring a friend with if you have to continue it. A friend with a different point of view to say, hey, you guys are not seeing eye to eye. Let me help you. Number 3, take a leader or a mentor with you as a higher up level of saying, hey, I'm not really involved in this situation. Let me speak into this. Number 4, if they do not listen to you, you have all and full permission to love them from a distance. I am not saying that you have to just take in toxic relationships. But you should fight for the people closest to you, because the level that you fight for your friends now will one day be the level that you fight for the person that you're dating. And the level that you fight for the person that you're dating will one day be the level that you fight for the person that you're married to forever. So choose right now to clearly communicate. The next one is clear communication controls their emotions. Poor communication lets their emotions control them. Now, not really anyone in here struggles with that, so I can just keep going, you know. Do you know that you can control not what you feel, but how your feelings lead you? like a sign of maturity is that you would be able to feel something and you would begin to make decisions in the opposite direction of that feeling. A sign of immaturity is that if everything you feel causes you to do things. If your feelings dictate your actions, that is a huge red flag of immaturity and will get you in a lot of trouble in life. That's a broken cycle. Self-control. When you have self-control, you can clearly communicate. When you clearly communicate, what happens? You have strong, closer connection. If it's in front of you, you can get over it with God. If it's in your path, you do not have to submit to it. It has to submit to God. The question is, will you press forward? Will you have the self-control to look the weak areas in your life in the face and say, I'm moving forward? No matter what emotion you're facing, you can calm down that anger. You can calm down that bitterness. You can get some patience, pray for it, ask for help, fight for it. Because if you let your emotions control you, you're going to destroy every relationship in your life. A lot of us have done that. We get hurt so quickly and we write people off. We get mad so fast, and that's why we have a smaller amount of friends than we began with. Clear communication puts the other person before themselves and listens. Poor communication is only focused on themselves and has ears for themselves. See, like the Bible tells us that this is love. It says this is love, that Christ first loved us. And what happened there is that in that verse, the Bible lays the law for us that love is not what someone does for you. Love starts with you towards them. We are sitting there constantly being like, how are you going to love me? And if you love me, then I'll love you. What happens when two people are that way? That's why there's a struggle of connection and lack of communication. Is because when we say you first, nobody goes first. We're constantly circling, disconnecting, and we don't have anyone that is willing to step up to the plate and start. Poor communication happens when you're only focused on your point of view. When you can only think about how a situation affects you. It's also a sign of immaturity. When all you see is how it's affecting you. Maturity, clear communication says, I'm going to put the other person first, even when it hurts, even when it doesn't make sense. Because it's the only way to break the cycle. Now, let me throw this at you. What would a dating relationship be like if two people were putting each other first? Because you say to yourself, well, if I put them first, what if they don't put me first? It's going to show you really quickly that's probably not best friend or dating material. Because when you genuinely hear what's happening in someone's point of view, your heart begins to melt and you begin to have mercy for them. When you begin to just take into account what's going on in someone else's point of view, how the situation's affecting them, it is a clarity of communication. Because when you're only thinking of yourself, you have your walls up, and it's poor communication. When you let your walls down and you let clear communication come through, you connect with them, and you hear them, and you resolve things. That clear communication is the first to say sorry and the first to give grace. That poor communication is the last to say sorry and the first to give guilt. Clear communication is the first to say sorry and the first to give grace. Poor communication is the last to say sorry and the first to give guilt. When someone steps up and says sorry first, when they're the first one to give grace, change happens. It begins to melt hearts. And some of you need to leave here tonight being willing to be the first, being willing to pioneer in a relationship that you have, being willing to say, I'm going to go directly to that person with clear communication. I'm going to control my emotions as I talk to them. I am going to put myself in their shoes, and I am going to lead the way by saying sorry.
Life Group is a place for us to ask questions and go a little bit deeper in what we just heard. So now we're going to split off into our discussion groups, and we're going to break it all down for us to understand it. And then we'll get back together for some announcements.